Alright guys, this week we're back at the Apex, and we got Josh Emmett versus Kevin Vallejos for our main event. And yeah, I'm going to give you my picks and predictions for the whole fight card, so let's get into it. First off, we have Para Rodriguez versus Sam Hughes. Now, this fight is a rematch. They fought before, and Para Rodriguez won that fight against Sam Hughes. And Sam Hughes, I don't really. She's okay. She's an okay fighter. She's relatively well rounded. The one hole in her game though is her takedown defense, and that's going to be a big issue in this fight against Para because Para loves to take down her opponents. She's taken down every single opponent that she's fought recently, and the only issue here is that Para really isn't able to hold down her opponents. In her last fight, she had like 7 takedowns, which means that you're not able to hold down your opponent. If you had like 3, 4, takedowns, you're able to hold down your opponent. You're able to work in those positions. But if your opponent's getting up and you're having to hunt for that takedown constantly, you're not able to hold down your opponent. But like I said, that's not an issue here with Sam Hughes. Sam Hughes has always struggled with her takedown defense, and I think this is an easy win for Para Rodriguez. I think she's going to be able to get that takedown, and I don't think that Sam Hughes is going to be able to get up. Maybe she'll get up once or twice, but you know, I think for the most part, Para is going to be able to hold her down and just grind out a decision. So I got Para Rodriguez to win by decision, so let's move on. Next up, we have Elijah Smith versus Su Young Yu. Now, Su Young Yoon is trying to take you down. We got another grappler. He's trying to, hold you down, take you down, and he's fighting against Elijah Smith. Now, um, Elijah Smith is pretty well rounded. He has good takedown defense and offense. He has really good striking, and that's where he wants to keep the fight. He wants to keep the fight on the feet and just piece you up. He's a technical fighter, but he will get into a brawl. And this fight, man, I see this fight going pretty easy for Elijah Smith. I think he should be able to defend the takedown and just piece up Su Young. I don't think that Su Young's striking is really all that. That's not really where he shines. He shines in the floor. He shines grappling and looking for that TKO/submission. And like I said, I think Elijah Smith should be able to defend the takedown. Maybe he'll get taken down once or twice, but he'll get back up. I'm not too worried about this fight for Smith. I think that he'll win this fight pretty relatively easily again. And yeah, I think he'll be able to defend the takedown and piece up Su Young. Now I think this fight most likely is going to go to decision. Maybe I could see a finish in round 3, maybe late round 2, but for the most part, this fight should be a decision for Elijah Smith. And yeah, next up, guys, we have Bia Mesquita versus Monse Rendon. Now, Bia Mesquita is like a big name in BJJ and the BJJ scene. She's really good on the floor, and she's really good at submitting you. Not really TKOs, but primarily just looking for that submission win. Now she's going up against Monte Rendon. Now Monte Rendon, she's pretty well rounded. She's not really good anywhere, but she's okay, in what she does. But in this fight, I think that Bia Mosquito should be able to take down Monte Rendon. Just because her grappling wrestling is top notch. She beat Mackenzie Dern, who a lot of people hold highly. She beat her in a BJJ match. Not to get it confused into an MMA match, but she beat her in a BJJ match. And Mackenzie Dern has decent takedown defense, and I think that Mackenzie Dern's defense is a lot better than Monse Rendon. So I think that Mosquito should be able to take down Monse and get a submission. Like I said, Monse is okay, everywhere, but okay everywhere is just going to get you so far. And against a BJJ nerd like Mosquito, I think that this is going to be an easy match for Mosquito. She should be able to take down Rendon and submit her. I'm going to say round 2. But, anything can happen. It's MMA. If this fight does stay on the feet, I do favor Rendon just because Mosquito's striking is just horrendous. She can't really find her beat. She can't find a rhythm. And it's just ugly, man. It reminds me of like Ronda's striking, just ugly, ugly striking. But like I said, Mosquito should be able to get that takedown and submit Rendon. I'm going to say round 2. And yeah, we move on. Next up, we got Luan Lacerda versus Hecher Sosa. Now, I'm gonna say this here first. I'm a big fan of Hecher Sosa, and I like this guy a lot. He's really good. He's very technical. He will look to box you up in the pocket, but he doesn't mind, using his length sometimes to his advantage and piecing you up. Now this fight, he doesn't really have that length advantage. It's relatively, same length, same reach, but he is the better fighter in my opinion, especially since he's going up against Luan Lacerda. Now Luan Lacerda, he's also a brawler, but he's not as technical as Hecher Sosa. He'll just bum rush you, and he's looking for that one punch KO. And you can't really be doing that with a guy that's pretty technical in Hecher Sosa. Yeah, I think Hecher Sosa will be able to circle out and piece up Luan. Now the only thing that has me a little worried in this fight is that during the tape study, Hecher Sosa's tape study doesn't really have him wrestling, grappling. Most of his tape is him just striking. And, like I said, he's brilliant at striking. But his wrestling slash takedown defense is kind of in the air right now. I feel like he should be able to defend Lacerda's takedowns, but that's to be seen. Like I said, there's not a lot of tape of him defending takedowns, which can be a problem because Lacerda, like, he's well rounded as well, and if he's able to take down Sosa, that's a big issue, man. That's gonna be an issue because Lacerda can get that finish. He can, get a submission TKO or just hold him down. But I say all of that as a warning. At the end of the day, I am picking Hecher Sosa to win this fight. I think he is the better fighter, and he should be able to get this dub, in my opinion. So give me Hecher Sosa to win by decision. I don't think he's going to get a finish. Luan Lacerda is a tough out. But yeah, Hecher Sosa should win via decision, in my opinion. Next up. Next up, we have Balaji Oki versus Manuel Sosa. Now, this fight is basically... both fighters are the same, man. Both fighters are the same. The only issue here is that Balaji Oki tends to gas, man. He tends to gas in the mid-second to late round 3. And that's an issue here. That's an issue against Manuel Sosa. Because Manuel Sosa is tested. And he can go a hard 15, and he can put the pressure on Balaji. And if you watch tape study, if you're Manuel Sosa, you know that Oki has a questionable gas tank, so you're gonna want to put it on him early, to gas him out fast, and then come round 2 or 3, you'll be able to get that finish on a tired Oki. But this fight, I mean, if this fight is 50-50, man. In round 1, both fighters can knock each other out, and any fighter can win. Even in like early round 2, any fighter can win. But I have to go with Manuel Sosa. I have to go with the better gas tank. You can't just rely on the one hitter quitter, man. You can't do that. You have to go with the fighter that's more well rounded. That's just the obsolete fighter, and that's gonna be Manuel Sosa. I think that he's gonna put the pressure on early on Oki and tire him out, and then come round 2, maybe mid to late round 2, start looking for that finish because Oki's going to be tired 100%. We've seen that before. And yeah, I think Manuel Sosa should be able to get I'm not going to say a knockout, but he should be able to get a TKO maybe early round 3. If that doesn't happen, then this fight's definitely going to go to decision. But I'm going to put it out there. I'm going to say Manuel Sosa gets a TKO finish in round 3 against Oki. And that's a good look, man, because Oki, Oki's no one to scoff at. He has a relatively good name, and that'll bring in more eyes for Sosa. And yeah, I got Sosa to win by TKO in early round 3. If that doesn't happen, then definitely decision. Next up, we have Chris Curtis versus Matabek Orobai. Now, this fight has me on the fence, man. Just because Chris Curtis is good, man. He's good. My only issue here is that Chris Curtis is 38 years old. So he's getting up there. He's fought some of the best in his divisions because he's moving down in weight, or he's been moving down in weight. And I think Matabek Orobai is coming into his prime, man. This guy's good. He has that dog in him. You know, if you you know, I'm just gonna say it blatantly, if you fuck him up, he don't care, man. This guy's gonna keep coming. He's gonna keep coming, and he's gonna look for he looks for that finish. That's what he's doing. He doesn't really like to go to decision. He's looking for that finish. And when you're going up against a guy that's war torn, old, and you know, not really, you know, I'm trying to find the words. You know, he's just not all there anymore, man. Because Father Time's gonna win, man. At the end of the day, Father Time's gonna win. And in my opinion, this is the case. If this was a younger Chris Curtis, then this fight would be a lot more interesting. But you know, since Chris Curtis is what he is now, I have to go with Matabek Orobai. I think a really good sneaky play in this fight though is Chris Curtis plus 3.5. I think that's a really good bet. But you know, as a pick, as who I think is gonna win, I think Matabek Orobai should be able to get the win in this fight. I don't see him submitting Chris Curtis. Obviously, you know, I don't see that at all. He can get a KO TKO in this fight, but you know, I'm gonna put some respect on Chris Curtis's name. I think that this fight's gonna go to decision. Matabek Orobai should be able to get a decision, man, relatively easily. I think round one's gonna be pretty competitive, but then come round two and three, Matabek Orobai is just gonna piece up Curtis, you know, beyond belief, and Chris Curtis is just gonna, you know, be too worn out. And yeah, I got more Matabek Orobai to win by decision. And yeah, we move on. Now, the Battle of the Unks, guys. We have Brad Tavares versus Eric Anders. Now, this is kind of like a couple fights ago. Both fighters are relatively the same. You know, they're both kind of washed. They're not in their prime. Their chins are both very questionable. You know, they're both well rounded. You know, they're both well rounded. If you know, if they were if they were a lot younger, then you know this fight would be a lot more interesting. But you know, they're both well rounded, man. That's all I gotta say. At the you know, my pick would be Brad Tavares just because Brad Tavares has, in my opinion, a little more thread in the tire. You know, Eric Anders is more beat up, more war torn. His chins, you know, both chins are questionable. But if I had to say whose chin was worse, I would say Eric Anders' chin is a lot more, you know, is a lot worse than Brad Tavares' chin. I would not touch this fight, you know, with the 10-foot pole because at the end of the day, either fighter can't win this fight. I just have to go with Brad Tavares because I think he has more fuel in the tank. You know, I think he just has the better chin. You know, he'll fight a lot more technical. Eric Anders is kind of a brawler, you know, and you know, Brad Tavares isn't gonna play that game. He's gonna pick his shots, circle out, and most likely win a decision. I don't think there's gonna be a finish in here. If there is a finish, it's gonna be KO. And yeah, man, this fight's just way, 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 way too, you know, too volatile, man. Like I said, either fighter can win. I just have to go with Brad Tavares because I think I keep reiterating this, man. Brad Tavares has more fuel in the tank, in my opinion. Um, so yeah, I have to go with Brad Tavares to win. I think he should be able to get a decision. But don't be surprised if he gets a KO TKO. That can happen. Eric Andrews' chin is very, you know, very out there, and his head movement isn't really all there. So yeah, give me Brad Tavares to win by decision. Moving on, guys. We have the main event of the prelims: Charles Johnson versus Bruno Silva. Now, this fight is interesting, man. Just because Bruno Silva has that one punch KO power, you know, it's kind of like the main event of the evening, you know, Josh Emmett. Bruno Silva has nasty KO power, and that's basically it, though. That's basically it. He's looking to put you out with one punch, you know, get that KO TKO and call it a night. And I think that's going to be a rough night with the guy he's going up against in Charles Johnson. I think Charles Johnson should be able to get this dub relatively easily. You know, Charles Johnson's very technical. He circles out, picks his shots, and he's just really good. Especially, you know, at his age, he's just really good. Yes, he's coming off a loss. But I think he's just leagues ahead of Bruno Silva, Like I said earlier, that punching power is just going to get you so far into the division. After you start fighting guys that are a lot more well-rounded, guys that are very technical, that, knockout power is not going to get you anywhere. And yeah, I think Charles Johnson should be able to win a decision. But don't be surprised if he gets a KO TKO because he has sneaky power. He's got that KO power. We've seen that when he fought against Loner Kavanaugh, who just beat Brandon Moreno. The only thing here that scares me is that Charles Johnson kind of has a Piotr Jan fighting style. And I say that just because Charles Johnson usually lets round one go. He loses that round and starts heating up mid round two. And, he's definitely on round three. And that can be an issue because if you're giving up round one to Bruno Silva and kind of giving up round two, you kind of have to get that finish, to win the fight. But like I said, I don't think that's going to be an issue because Charles Johnson, it should be able to, get out of the way of anything that Bruno Silva does throw. And yeah, I think Charles Johnson should be able to win a relatively easy decision. But I wouldn't be surprised if he gets a KO TKO in this fight. Anything can happen. It's MMA. But yeah, I'm not really scared of Bruno Silva's, one punch KO power. I think Charles Johnson's safe enough and smart enough to get out of the way of anything that Bruno Silva does throw. But yeah, give me Charles Johnson to win by decision. Moving up into the main card, we have Vito Petrino versus Steven Asplund. Now, a lot of people are high on Steven Asplund, and honestly, so am I. I'm kind of falling into the hype. I think he should be able to win this fight just because Vito Petrino, this guy's a trash can, man. This guy's not good. Yeah, he looks good. Yeah, he might look in shape and everything, but dude, this guy's running out. This guy has no gas tank, man. He fucking gasses out in the second round and has nothing to offer. This guy's a bum, dude. Like I said, he looks in shape, he looks all that, but you're not, bro. You're not in shape. You're gassing out in the second round. Like, how is that even possible, dude? He moved up from light heavyweight to heavyweight, and he's looking even worse. I don't know how that's even possible, bro. And he's going up against Steven Asplund, who, what I gotta say, man, I gotta put this out there. This guy used to weigh 500 pounds, bro. Insanity. He now he weighs 260, which, big props to him. He could have done lipo. He could have been on the shots. Everyone's on the shots nowadays. But he did it the old-fashioned way, man. This guy started working out, started grinding, and, he lost the weight naturally, which, big ups to him. I'm proud of him because he was one bite away from a heart attack. But, this guy's got a heart. He's not, gonna give up on himself. And, this is an easy fight for Steven, in my opinion. I think that he should bulldoze over Petrino. He's got, Steven's got a better gas tank than Petrino. It's hard to fucking gas out in one round. So, yeah, I think Steven Asplund should be able to get a TKO finish in this fight easily. I don't know how Asplund's a dog, I don't know how he's a dog. That's kind of crazy to me because Vito Petrino is just a bomb, dude. If you're getting guillotined by Anthony Smith, retire, bro. Retire. Couldn't be me. Could not be me. But yeah, man, I gotta go Steven Asplund to win by TKO, KO TKO in round 2. I'm gonna say, and yeah, I'm on the train of Steven Asplund. I hope he whoops Vito Petrino because this motherfucker sold me so many times, bro. But yeah, Steven Asplund should be able to get the finish in round 2. Moving up. Now we have Marwan Rahiki versus Harry Hardwick. Now, this fight's very intriguing, guys. I see a lot of people, counting out Harry Hardwick, saying he's a bum, Cage Warriors is trash, this and that. I'm hearing a lot of shit from people that are hating on Hardwick. And I can see where they're coming from, but then again, I don't. Just because, yeah, he got pieced up, on the feet when he got, his legs chopped off. But come on, man, we got to keep in mind that was a short notice fight against a really good prospect. And in my opinion, I don't really hold that loss too highly. Yes, he got obliterated, but I don't, like I said, it was short notice, man. Short notice, and I can't really put too much weight in that. In my opinion, yes, yes, his kicking defense isn't really all that good. He does get kicked, but I think he'll learn from that fight and practice more on his kicking defense. Because he literally got pieced up. He couldn't even stand up in that fight. He had to get wielded out of that fight. And yeah, I think he should be able to learn from that fight. And he's going up against Marwan Rahiki. Now, Marwan Rahiki, this guy's good. I hold him pretty highly. I like him a lot. I think this fight's going to be relatively competitive, and it's definitely going to go to decision in my opinion. But I think that Marwan Rahiki, it's just going to be one step ahead. I think he's just going to piece up Hardwick, and then mix it up whenever Hardwick wants to, and then mix it up. He'll take down Hardwick, and then they'll stand up. They'll play that game. I think Rahiki is going to play that game, be mixing it up pretty well, and just going to have Hardwick thinking. So I got to go with Marwan Rahiki, but like I said earlier, I think this fight's a lot closer than a lot of people think. I think that Harry Hardwick does have a chance to win, but you know, uh, at the end of the day, I have to go with Marwan Rahiki. I think he's just the more well-rounded fighter. I think he'll be one step ahead, and yeah, I just wanted to say that. A lot of people counting out Hardwick. I don't think you should be counting him out, and you shouldn't be surprised if he does win this fight because he can win this fight. But like I said, Marwan Rahiki is the official pick. I'm going with him to win by decision. Moving up. Moving up, we have Andre Fili versus Jose Delgado. Now, what can I say, man? Andre Fili, bro, this guy was once a prospect. Everyone held him highly, and he hasn't really shown that in the UFC. His chin's very, very questionable. His head movement's not there. But overall, I mean, he's a good fighter. He has wrestling and grappling. He's an okay striker. He just doesn't really have head movement, and that's what's been hurting him. He's been getting knocked out in the UFC a lot. And I think that's going to be the method that he loses this fight. So yeah, I think Jose Delgado should be able to win this fight by KO TKO in early round two, maybe round three. But I definitely see a finish in this fight just because Andre Fili's chin's just way out there. And it's just questionable just to begin with. You get hit and you get dropped and rocked relatively easily. You're gonna go down with a guy like Jose Delgado. And yeah, I gotta go with Jose Delgado, like I said, to finish this fight in rounds two, maybe round three. And yeah, we move on. Moving up, we have Ian Cutelaba versus Omar Sy. Now this fight's interesting as well, just because Ian Cutelaba, this guy's a dog. He's looking to finish you, and he's crazy out there, man. He's very unpredictable, kind of like a Yuri Prohaska style. You never know what you're gonna get with this guy. And the only issue with Ian is that his chin. His chin is, out there to be had. But I don't really see that as an issue with a guy against Umar Sy. Now, Umar Sy, what can I say, man? This guy's sometimes he's a world beater, sometimes he's a bum, bro. And when he fought against Alonzo Menafield, he was just bumming out doing jack shit, man. And if you're doing jack shit against Ian Cutelaba, you're gonna get knocked out, bro. 100%. You can't be doing jack shit with a guy in Cutelaba. Can't be doing that. And sometimes he'll get a round one KO, and you're just like, damn, where'd that come from? But I'm a big Ian Cutelaba guy. I like Cutelaba a lot. I'm gonna be rooting for Cutelaba, but I can't pick him, man. I think Umar Sy, he's just in his fighting prime right now, and Cutelaba is kind of at the tail end of his career, to be honest. And like I said, his chin's just out there to be had, and Umar Sy does have that knockout power. So yeah, I think Umar Sy should be able to get a KO, in round two, maybe round three. And yeah, so give me Umar Sy to win by KO TKO. But like I said, I'll be rooting for my boy Ian Cutelaba. If he gets a win, I'll be very happy. This is the only fight right now that I'll be very happy that I got the fight wrong. I'm gonna be rooting for Kutilaba. But besides that, I gotta go with Umar Sy to win this fight by KO TKO in rounds 2 or 3, maybe even a decision. Because if Umar Sy is winning this fight, if he wins round 1 and round 2, this motherfucker will cruise, bro. He's a bum. He'll cruise and he won't look for a finish. So yeah, I'm going with KO, but don't be surprised if he's won round 1 and round 2. This motherfucker's gonna cruise. So there's that. But yeah, I got him to win. Umar Sy should be able to get the W relatively easily. Moving up to the co-main event, we have Amanda Lemos versus Gillian Robertson. Now, Amanda Lemos is a beautiful striker, bro. One of the best female strikers in the strawweight division. She has elite striking. The only downside is her takedown defense. Now, I can't really knock it just because she's been defending those takedowns against almost every single fighter that she's fought against, you know? But, yeah, man, I don't know. I can't pick, I think she's like 38 years old. I can't pick a 38-year-old female fighter, bro. And I can't, I just can't do that, man. Is there a way for Lemos to win? 100%. This fight is basically a striker versus wrestler fight, you know? And typically wrestlers win, and that's what I'm banking on. I think that Gillian Robertson should be able to get the takedown and submit Lemos. Lemos's submission defense isn't really all there. Like I said, her takedown defense is good, but when she is, in a predicament, she usually gets, wrapped up. And that's what I'm gonna call it. I think that Gillian Robertson should be able to get that takedown and submit Lemos pretty easily. My only issue here is, like I said, it's a striker versus wrestler fight. If Lemos is able to defend the takedown, it's gonna be a long night in the office for Gillian Robertson, man. Because Gillian Robertson's striking is pretty ugly, man, and it's not there. It's basically non-existent. So if Lemos is able to defend the takedown, Lemos is gonna win this fight, 100%. But yeah, I got to pick with Gillian Robertson. She's kind of on a run of her own too, so I think that she should be able to get this dub. And yeah, I mean, then the UFC wants her to get this dub. She's Canadian. They're trying to build that Canadian market. So yeah, I got to go with Gillian Robertson. I think she should be able to get this fight done. But yeah, don't be surprised, man. Don't be surprised if Lemos does defend the takedown. But yeah, Gillian Robertson should be able to win submission. I'm gonna say round 2 submission, but she can win a decision. But round 2 submission is my official pick. Now, main event, guys. Main event. We got Josh Emmett versus Kevin Vallejos. Oh man. Now we know what the UFC's trying to do, man. We know what they're doing. They're trying to feed Josh Emmett to the young and hungry Kevin Vallejos, the young prospect, man. That's what they're doing. And I think that Kevin Vallejos should be able to get the job done, man. I keep saying this, man. I keep saying this in this card, but Josh Emmett's whole career has relied on that one punch KO power. And yes, he has nasty KO power, but like I said, that's only gonna get you so far, man. This guy fought for a title and got out techniqued, and that's been the story of his career. He got out techniqued by Lerone Murphy, and he got fucking submitted by Yusuf Salal, in round 1. So yeah, I can't really, you can't pick Josh Emmett. I think he's definitely at the tail end of his career, and he's not a well-rounded fighter, man. He just has striking, and that's pretty much it. His takedown defense is okay, but he's fighting against Kevin Vallejos, someone that's hungry, someone that's very well-rounded, that can take you down, and also has KO power. Kevin Vallejos, isn't afraid to go into the pocket, man. He's not afraid to get in there and, slug it out. But he's also very technical. This guy's just the whole package, He's a whole package. He should be able to get the job done. I don't think that Josh Emmett's going to land anything on Kevin Vallejos, anything dangerous on Kevin Vallejos. And yeah, I mean, besides, that crazy, crazy, nasty KO that Josh Emmett got on Bryce Mitchell, I think his last nasty KO like that was in 2019. And yeah, I mean, I think the power really isn't all there. Usually power is the last thing to go, but like I said, besides that Bryce Mitchell KO, his last KO was in 2019, which is like damn near 7 years ago. And yeah, I mean, you're only getting worse, but every day that goes by, especially at Josh Emmett's age. So you have to go with Kevin Vallejos to win this fight. I think that he wins relatively easily. And honestly, I think this fight's going to go to decision. I think that Kevin Vallejos is going to, stay safe. He knows what Josh Emmett has to offer, which is that KO power. And yeah, I think he's just going to piece up Josh Emmett out of the pocket, maybe mix it up with some takedowns, and win a pretty easy decision against a big name in Josh Emmett, someone that fought for an interim title in the featherweight division. So, yeah, give me Kevin Vallejos to win this fight via decision and move up into the top 10 because I think Josh Emmett is number 11 in the division and Kevin Vallejos is like 14 or 13, something like that. So he's going to be moving into the top 10. And yeah, I mean, we'll see. I mean, featherweight's very stacked, man. I'm very intrigued in how Kevin Vallejos does in the top 10, against someone in the top 10. So, that's to be seen. We'll see how good he performs against Josh Emmett and, go from there. But yeah, those were my picks and predictions for the whole fight card for UFC Fight Night Josh Emmett versus Kevin Vallejos. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. If you guys disagree, agree, or think some of my picks are just crazy. And yeah, let me know who you guys got in the comments down below. And until next time.